All right. It's on. It's recording. It's doing.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. And good morning on this lovely Saturday.
Is it lovely? It's pouring rain here.
Oh, it's not raining here for a change.
I know. It's disgusting here.
It's been raining for the last 2 weeks, and today it's not that bad, and I'm very happy about it.
Good.
So hopefully your day clears up.
I highly doubt it. It seems to just rain now. It's like the...
Yeah.
I live in a rain cloud.
What
Hello.
What are you reading? Hello. Welcome to TBR Lowdown, by the way. Welcome.
How
to
about
TBR
we
Lowdown.
introduce ourselves? Let's get our shit together.
Right.
Hello.
Welcome to TBR
Hello,
Lowdown.
friend.
Hello.
Ma'am, you woke me up early, so you've got to be the one in charge of keeping this ship on track. Okay.
I woke you up early.
Yes, I've been up since 9.
Yes,
okay?
This is early for you. I've been up since
Please remember that I don't get home till 2 in the morning. No.
I've been up since 6:30. There's a lot going on.
I've basically just gone to bed at that point.
Oh, poor thing. I don't Larry and I were just talking about people that work night shift. And I was like, I don't think I could do it. I don't know.
I don't mind it. The problem is, hold on, my camera's a little like crooked. The problem is that the rest of you people expect me to function like you do.
Yeah.
I don't ask you to record with me when I get home in 2 in the morning.
Right. Yes, very true. Very true.
But the rest of you day people are like, no, you can totally. No, I can't. Okay. I've been.
Us day people, we just don't get it.
You don't
we
get
just
it.
don't get it.
You expect everybody to fall in line with you.
Us day people, we suck. We absolutely suck.
You know, it's world caters
Alyssa needs her rest.
The world caters to you, not to me.
Alyssa needs her rest. She does.
I do need my rest.
And we're going to get our recording schedules together so she can have more rest.
I'm gonna start making you record at like 11 o'clock at night.
That would be awful. That would be terrible. Also, I would really fall asleep.
I'm like in my stride at 11 o'clock.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well,
what have you been reading?
Well, I'll tell you what I've been reading. Where are my piles? Okay. I just started book 3 in the George Smiley series by John le Carre. I think that's how you say his name. And this is The Spy Who Came In From the Cold. And I mean, I'm at the very beginning, but already it's just so fantastic. I really love the way le Carre writes. So we open up to this, I guess a detective or an agent or something. And he's waiting with this other guy, and they're waiting for someone, which we come to find out is they're waiting for an agent whose cover has been blown to show up. And so and I just forgot this guy's name. But the agent who's waiting on the agent whose covers has been blown, is that Lemus? Lemus is waiting for the agent, and he's talking to some other like official kind of a cop guy, and they're like, well, he's not coming. And Lemus is like, he is coming, but he's coming on his own time. His cover's been blown. He's got to figure out the right time to like get out of whatever situation he's in to meet us here at this spot so that he arrives here alive. So it's very tense. And you feel this tension as you're reading this scene. Like, it's dark, it's gloomy. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know this guy's going to make it out. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. And you just feel it. And I just love how dark and intense this scene feels. And so this is where I am right at the beginning, and I'm so happy to be back with this series because it's so enjoyable, and I cannot wait to finish this book. I think last year I finally tracked down all the books in this series, so I'm so excited to continue with it. So that is The Spy Who Came In From the Cold by John le Carre. And I know that this book in particular gets recommended a lot as like, one of the best kind of like crime fiction books to read. So very exciting. But so far this series has not disappointed me.
Excellent.
What about you?
Well, I started something that you've been meaning to read as well. And I guess it goes well with what we're going to talk about today because we're talking about indie stuff. I started Someone at a Distance by Dorothy Whipple.
Mm-hmm.
It's my beautiful Persephone copy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really enjoying it so far. The voice is really funny. So you have this like older lady and she's a little curmudgeon-y. And then she has a son who's a publisher, and there's something about him. And he's got this wife that's like very lovely, but very like she's just always rushed because she's got so many like housely duties, and they have kids, and they live close by, but like kind of on the estate, but they don't always like come and visit her. So this old lady's like grumpy because nobody comes to visit her. So she has this, she answers this advertisement from a young French lady who is looking to basically be like, she's advertising to do like light work and stuff like that. And I guess this is post-war, so it's hard to find help and stuff. Like the world is changing, all that. And so she takes on this young French girl. God damn it, these headphones are gonna die.
Oh no.
It's okay. I'll put in my earbuds. It'll be fine. But anyway, let's just get through this before they die. But yeah, so she takes on this young French lady. The young French lady comes, and the young French lady she's interesting. She is beautiful and like particular and well dressed, and she ends up being less of like a maid and more of a companion slash doll slash stand-in child. It seems like it sounds like there may be something that happens between the son and the French girl. I don't know. I'm 5 chapters in, but it's just really interesting so far. It's kind of funny at times, but in this very dry British way. I'm really enjoying myself. It's my first Dorothy Whipple, so I'm hopeful that I'm gonna like it because she's like the darling of Persephone books. They have lots of her books, and I'm hoping that I enjoy this, and then I may be making another Persephone order soon when my budget allows for it, because this is my last Persephone book that I haven't read. So I'm going to have to. Yeah. We'll see.
Okay.
Let's Someone at a Distance. I'm enjoying this so far. Let me just swap this to earbuds because I thought this was charged, but I was wrong. Hold on.
Story of our lives, charging devices and peripherals. We love it. Listen, Gold's Gem, you all need to stop texting me. Okay? Just settle down. Settle down. Here's a fun fact. I think I pulled a muscle in my butt cheek. So there's that, folks. Has anyone had that happen? It's kind of painful. My right butt cheek, I think I pulled a muscle or perhaps strained it. I don't know, but it hurts. And yeah, there you go. What's that green thing? Is that a traveler's notebook? Oh, I can't hear you talking. Oh, yeah. I can't hear your vocals. I heard nothing.
Yeah.
Yes. Now I can hear you.
Okay. I don't know. I muted it there, but I couldn't unmute it. Yes, you know what this is.
A lovely green. Okay. I saw green, I get excited. It's my favorite color.
I also buffed it with some leather conditioner, so Um, it's like particularly nice looking right now.
Yeah.
But comments
I
mentioned that they
shared
made.
that I shared that with Larry. He was like, "You all are in the deepest rabbit hole of these journals and whatnot." He's like, "You guys are nuts." He just started laughing.
Did he tell you? Did you tell him how I reverse engineered a Notion template?
Oh no, I need to tell him that.
Because I refused to. I refused to pay for someone's Notion template,
I
and
know.
thankfully they did such a lovely job with their
Like
um,
explaining.
explaining the template
Yeah.
and how it all functions that it's not the same. It's not the same.
Yeah.
I think there's a slicker and a little bit better integrated because they're obviously better at creating templates than I am. I'm not like, I'm a very Notion novice, but I did reverse engineer a
I
template
love it.
yesterday and shared it with
I love
Naomi.
it.
Because there is a creator. I'm not going to say who it is in case we get like in trouble, but like, or
Right,
I get in
right.
trouble. But there is a creator who created a what's it called? A template that is for commonplacing, and I really
Yeah.
liked the way that it parsed out the information that you put into it because a lot of the things that I've seen, or even like when I do my books in my journals, like
Mm-hmm.
it's just a repository for a lot of stuff, and I've seen people do other things, but I really like how this person's system really just doled out the information into like what I think will actually be much more useful buckets to then use them for other things because I do want to start writing more like SAE think piece stuff, but I
Yeah.
think that all has to come out of and video ideas and stuff, and that has to be coming out of something. And I just have like this web of information, so it's nice to kind of like
Right.
take that web and funnel it into something. So yeah, that's what I did yesterday. So you can tell Larry that I it's not
I
just
am.
physical journals. I
He's
also
always amused by, well, he's amused by me every day, but he's also amused by us and the weird things that we get into. And like he's like, "Are you all like really sisters?" Because like I go so deep in the rabbit holes, and now he's finding out that you also go so deep in. He's like, "I think
mhm,
you have really found your person." I was like, "Yeah,
mhm.
yeah, I have." If you would indulge us for a moment, audience, because I see that my dear friend Alyssa
Oh yes, I do. My pen arrived.
is holding this Jinhao fountain pen, and I wanted to talk about just for a minute, just for a minute.
Okay.
So I had been interested in the inks by Ferris Wheel Press. So
Yeah, they're very expensive.
I bought a small one for like $22,
Okay.
and it's this like dark forest green color, and I inked it
Ooh.
up in here, and it's just, first of all, the ink color is so beautiful, and this nib is like so juicy when you're writing. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah, it's a
have a
good nib. I
oh,
changed
it's a
mine to a
good nib.
fine. I changed mine to a
Oh,
fine, not an extra fine, to a fine because it came in medium.
yeah. So I wanted the medium because my other Jinhao fountain pen is extra fine, and this just
Hmm.
has a regular ink cartridge in it. So I wanted to try a medium nib, and it's just so juicy. And also, I love how this pen feels in my hand when
It's a
I'm
good pen.
writing. It's a good
It's a
pen.
good pen. And that's
So I
why.
got Kyra a blue ink from Howden or Howden, so she's going to ink
Hmm.
hers up with that. But this pen and that Ferris wheel ink is just giving me a lot of joy right now. Anyway, just thanks, folks, for indulging us in this little moment of fountain pen love.
Okay, so since we're talking about inks, I use Tom's Studio, which is a UK brand,
Oh, I've heard of that
and
one.
I have two of their pens, but I need to get more of the foamy inserts that go inside of them so that I
Uh huh.
can re-ink them. Um, but I don't have. It's such a weird thing to order because it's only like a pound or two, but then
Yeah.
to ship, so it's just like a weird thing to order from the UK just on its own. So I have to like maybe I'll buy another ink or something when I feel compelled to. But I have their
Yeah.
number 9, which is this beautiful purple, but it's like really dark and almost reads black unless
Oh,
you get
uh
in the
huh.
right light. And then so that's what I inked that one up with. And then I
Yeah.
just have a regular black from them. But I really like their inks. I think they're really lovely.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm gonna be trying a lot of inks. I
and they're
wanted
not
some
crazy
samples.
expensive. They're
Yeah.
not crazy expensive. But I
Yeah.
have this is my favorite pen of theirs. If I can open it right now because my hand is not working. Um, This is like their little, it folds the Ren. This Japanese tip is my
Mm.
favorite, but it's dry. I need to get a new, and I cannot
Oh.
re-ink the thing. Like it's just so dead. So I have to get
Oh.
another insert. And I
Yeah.
would recommend that if you buy pens from them, make sure you buy
The
lots of the
inserts is
little foams because I
uh-huh.
have lots of tips, but I didn't think about the inserts. So
Right.
because it's not a reservoir, it's like a little foamy thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
I
just
love it.
soaks
I
up the
love
stuff.
it.
And the fun thing about the Ren is it just like soaks up the stuff, but it's like
Hmm.
not soaking. I don't know what it's doing.
Yeah.
Um, so the fun thing about the Ren is you can pick each color.
Oh, that is
So you
fun.
can make your pen whatever it is, and it folds up to something small. So it's a really nice
Oh,
like
I
traveling
love
pen.
that.
Um, but yeah, I like this one, and I have a long Lumos as well. Do you
I
really?
love
Why did you
that.
do this again? You started this, Naomi, and here
I'm
we are.
sorry. I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it.
I
You know
don't know
what?
what Lumos is right now. It's run off somewhere.
Yeah.
On
There's just so many good pens out there. But I
I
had a
also
real
have somewhere it's throwing stuff. I have a retractable Pilot
mm-hmm.
fountain pen in black,
Uh-huh.
which I really like. Which I really
Yeah,
like as
that
well.
is a
So
very popular one. When I watch a lot of those fountain pen videos, that is a very popular one.
because it's very like travelable.
Yeah. Now you know I'm going to the DC Pen Show in August.
I know you told me that.
So I'm very excited about that. And if you're on the lookout for something, whether it's pens or ink, let me know.
Oh, I'm always on the lookout for something.
What I'm hoping, because so here's what I want to do for the back of my travelers. I was going to put a patch here, but you won't know what I really want here is I want a leather zip pouch sewn on the back, the outside back of my traveler's notebook, because while I like this canvas, zip pouch thing, I keep
Hmm.
pins in it, and so it gives it a bulk that I don't enjoy.
Well, I saw that they do make pouches specifically for fountain pens, and I'm sure you can find one at the thing. And then
I've seen a lot. Yes.
also, I'm just gonna throw this out there. It's gonna sound a little strange. Try to go to your local Ren fair and
Uh-huh.
talk to anybody there because I bet you they have a leather craftsman that goes, and you might be able
Oh,
to talk to them about having them maybe make something for you on the side.
that is a really good idea. That is a really, really good idea. All right, folks, coming up in 2026, Naomi and Alyssa start a stationary and traveler's notebook journaling podcast. So stay tuned.
So I do have I while I was waiting for you this morning, I started editing. I had imported all the files, but I hadn't started editing. I went through my journal ecosystem and I also created this in a video. So it's not like the best video because I don't have like good overhead or anything, but
Yeah.
at least it's something. And if people enjoy it, maybe I'll figure out overhead and we can do more stuff.
Yeah.
But none of this is why we are here today.
I know, folks. Again, that's why I said if you would indulge us for a minute, I asked kindly if you'd indulge us for a moment. Okay, we're done. We're done. We're done. But hey, talk to us if you like stationery and pens and journaling and all that good stuff. Anyway, moving on.
There was somebody who did mention in a comment that they did make their own book journal out of like a Hardy Boys book. And I thought that was so cool. So if anybody
What?
else has like a journal obsession, a notebook
Share with
obsession,
us,
an
please.
obsession,
Oh,
Naomi is getting a lot more like creative and like sticker, paper, ephemera. I just really like I just like notebooks and pens. I just like writing and notebooks and pens. And sometimes I
yeah.
throw some things in there to like jazz it up, but like the
Yeah.
aesthetic stuff, not me. Naomi, aesthetic stuff. Like she's over there
I,
making spreads. She's doing like the
you
cute
know,
stuff.
it's so funny because in my adult life, I have not done that. But as a kid and a teenager, I did that all the time. Like all the Hello Kitty stuff, all the Lisa Frank stuff. Like it was real deep in my
Mhm.
bedroom with all of my things. But it has, and we talked about this, privately. Like I have just been in dire need of like more of a creative outlet, and it's been bringing me a lot of joy. And
Yeah.
also, what's been really bothering me over the last few years is that all of my memories are in my phone. They're
Yeah.
all in my phone. And I was like, I want them out of my phone. I want them to be physical, tangible, so I can look back on them. And so now I'm doing, memory keeping, journaling. And that's making me so happy because it's like, get out of here and let's get you on some paper. It's bringing me
Yeah,
so much joy.
I started something this year. I'm trying to keep a memory keeper book, but I get so behind. I really just need to, print out a bunch of stuff, grab a bunch of stuff, and then like you did when you were away for the weekend, just bring it and like spend some time
Yeah.
playing with it and writing in it and doing that memory keeping stuff because
Yeah.
it is important. I think that we've lost touch with the physical. I was actually in the city with a friend of mine recently, and we were at the Morgan Library, and we were looking at these cuneiform sort of tablets that they have, and
Mm-hmm.
talking about how um, like those clay tablets are basically indestructible. Like you have to grind them to dust, and they're otherwise they're basically indestructible. Even if you break them
Right.
apart, eventually you can find maybe pieces are missing, but in general, you can keep the message. Um, they get harder in fires. Like
Mm-hmm.
they last. Everything we do now,
Yeah.
it's just like in the ether. Like
Yeah.
there's no like what is the record keeping going to look like
Yeah.
for
For sure.
modernity? And it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be interesting.
For sure. But that's my Sundays now. Like my Sundays, like I read a little bit in the morning, but the rest of
Mhm.
my, afternoon, it's like I'm in my functional daily planner, doing all my planning for the week. And then I
Mhm.
move over to my memory keeping journal. And that's my Sunday. And it's just like the best.
Yeah.
Best.
But anyway, but what we're actually here to talk about.
Yeah.
So a little while ago, this YouTube channel, Eyes on Indie, great channel. Go
Please
subscribe.
subscribe.
I don't know why her channel subscribe. Like she needs more subscribers. Like
She should be like in double digits. Like
it's
seriously.
weird.
It's a
the
shame.
The algorithms are weird. They posted a video that was called "If you like these books," something like that. If you like these books, you should be paying attention.
Yeah.
And it's about the loss of grants that that were
National
helping.
Endowment of the Arts,
Yes,
right?
the termination of a lot of those grants, thanks to our wonderful president and all of his lovely policies. A lot of
Fantastic.
the grants that were promised to these various institutions are no longer going to be there, and that's a big deal because a lot of a lot of the ability for different kinds of arts programs to actually function comes from these grants. Plus, they were already budgeted in. I think that's probably the most insidious part,
Yes.
is that
Yes.
these things were already budgeted and plans were made for the
Yep.
fiscal year, and then this funding was sort of yoinked, well, not sort of, it was yoinked out from underneath them. So we just wanted to um I guess throw our voices into the mix
Yes.
and sort of talk about you know the importance of indie publishing, just have a little chit chat, all that.
Yeah.
uh, do you have the Publishers Weekly article?
No.
uh, okay. So there's a publishers. This all comes out of this Publishers Weekly article that is from the 5th of May. It's by Sophia Stewart, and it's announcing the termination and rescinding of grants for the fiscal year 2025 for a lot of cultural institutions. And then there is like a crowdsourced list that was put together of institutions that are losing their grants and how much their grants were for.
I
And
did see that list.
there's a lot of things on here, from like
Yeah, I've got
theater
the article.
things. The Paris Review is on here. Four Way Books. Um, a lot of different Words Without Borders, which is an interesting
One
organization.
of my
There's
favorite
a lot.
sites. I have gained so much knowledge and information from that website. Learned about new authors, got to read deep dives about various authors and their works. That website is one of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really great programs, things or like cultural institutions, things like that that are being hit really hard by losing their funding.
Yeah.
Um, and it's really upsetting. And I think that a lot of people today, I'm like, how do I want to say this? I think a lot of people today undervalue the importance of arts and humanities in this world. Um, I will throw in the caveat of the fact that this government has also been underfunding STEM as well. So it's not like there is this hard
Right.
switch to like, um, I don't know, some hard science kind of like thing. Like,
No, because they also kind of shun science and the
yeah,
validity of a lot of science as well.
yeah. So there's just like I feel like there's just this general overarching trying to dumb down a lot of the world. But I think the arts and humanities is getting hit particularly hard because
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that it's something that everybody values, because I don't think that its value is always tangible, right? You're not like making a new vaccine, but we're not going to talk about vaccines because that's
Well,
also a
right.
whole new kettle of fish.
That's
But
right.
like you're not making a thing, you're not building a rocket ship, you're not there's not like some thing where you can point to that you're like, here's an advancement. But they do allow for like the open expression of ideas, that like exchange of ideas, that expansion of your brain, right? There's much more subtle things that come from the arts and humanities.
But from their perspective, that is what they don't want. It is that openness of idea.
Yeah.
And it
The
is
last
that
thing.
although those things are subtle, those subtle things that you take away from the arts can become something bigger and larger. It makes your voice bigger, makes your voice strong.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want that. They don't want
No.
that at all. So they want to put that fire out. Because that's what happens, right? When you get rid of the arts, like you're putting the fire out, the fire that burns within us when we engage with the arts. So this is the last thing they want to do, is to keep that going.
And hitting these little publishers is particularly insidious, because those are the publishing houses that are giving space for non-mainstream voices. That's probably the best way I could say that.
It's like
Um,
they are the movement.
yeah, and they're being more experimental. They're focusing in on sort of niche things, some of these houses, and they're giving space to people that otherwise wouldn't have space in traditional publishing.
Yep.
And there is a there is a demand for that, but it's never in this time period going to kind of match the demand that like big publishing and commercial fiction is going to have, or
For sure.
commercial nonfiction.
For sure.
Um, you know, those stupid political biographies that, get $1 million deals, and,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, they're going to always kind of be at the top of the pile. Those
Sure.
traditional fictional authors are always going to be at the top of the pile, taking a large chunk of the publishing pie from
Yeah.
marketing, and then from, money coming in from sales. But like, there's still other voices, and they're really important.
So many. And when we're talking about, and Eyes on Indie mentioned this too in the video, where she says, like, if you're complaining about, always seeing, the same handful of books, all the time, like, we get it, but also like it is not hard to find books that are under the radar, but you do have to do a little bit of work. You don't have to break your back doing it, but you have to do a little bit of work. There are so many indie publishers out there publishing great books. They're not like hidden under a rock where you can never find them, but you do have to do a little research. So the idea that there aren't any under the radar books like anywhere to be found is wholly untrue. um this great podcast, we read several of those books every year for our book club and discuss them on this podcast.
But
I encourage you to go to our website, TBR Lowdown, and click on book club and just look at the books that we've read in the past and discussed. Very much under the radar, but very much well worth your time.
we're just like a drop in the bucket. Like
Yeah.
there's so many people that talk about this stuff on the regular, and people just don't. I don't. I think it's really easy. I think. Well, first of all, I think listeners aren't going to hear anything we haven't already said before about 1,000 times in every podcast episode.
You're right.
Since the beginning of this podcast, in this episode. So if we are being repetitive, it's for a reason at this point. I think it's important to keep shouting it. You can go to Barnes & Noble and you can pick up the books from the tables that are, the hot sellers, the TikTok darlings, the whatever. And that's fine. If you like those books, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But what irks me is how quickly those same people will bemoan a reading slump and, just books are so terrible today. Like the amount of videos I've seen in the last week that are like, why is publishing so terrible? Because you're not expanding your horizons. There are amazing stories being told across the globe. But if you keep going back to the same well, it's going to run dry. If you keep reading the same formulaic thrillers, if you keep reading the same formulaic romanticities, if you keep reading the same authors, if you do not expand your horizons, I promise you, you will get bored. I am a lover of a hyperfixation meal. I will eat the same meal every day for like weeks, months, even sometimes. And then you know what? I don't want to eat it again. I don't want to eat it for weeks because I've eaten too much of it. The same thing happens when you read the same books over and over and over and over and over again. And you can't really criticize big publishing for not being more expansive in the choices, because their whole model is to make money. So if publishing, if a Sarah J. Maas book makes them a ton of money, then they're going to publish as many Sarah J. Maas-like books that they can to tap into that audience, if that audience is turned on to that kind of story.
Exactly. I mean, you just got to remember that publishing is big corporate. Period. It's big corporate. That's it. That's the bottom line.
They have high overheads. They have lots of people to pay. And they, the executives the people at the top are making nice salaries. The people at the bottom are making very little. And if the people at the top want to keep making nice salaries, they have to make sure that they are investing into things that are going to give them a good return on their investment. And that's not to say that indie publishing doesn't also need to make money, but indie publishing is more likely to skip by on like a barely in the black budget, because it's about, for the most part, these publishing houses are about the stories, it's about the voices, it's about whatever the mission is of that.
They're mission driven. They're mission driven. Big corporate, aka big publishers, are not mission driven. They're driven by the bottom line. Period.
Which, welcome to capitalism. Like, what are we going to do about that? I'm not going to do anything about that. But you have free will, despite the fact that you might feel like you don't. You have free will. You can go out and explore other things. You can purposefully engage with content that talks about things that are different than what you normally look at. And you will slowly start to change the feeds. Our world is so algorithm driven. If you are only seeing one thing, it's because that is what you are engaging with. Whether you're engaging with it positively or negatively, they don't care. The algorithm
engagement.
It's engagement. If you spend, how many times have I whacked up my For You page because I was looking at something because it was irritating me? And now I have a lot of it, and I'm like, oh, I gotta do something to get rid of this now because I didn't really
Right.
want to focus on that thing. I wanted to, it just got me, like it rage baited me or whatever, right?
Yep.
So I think we just really wanted to highlight that this is happening, to raise up Eyes on Indie's little video,
Yep.
and get more eyes on it. Do you have favorite like US indie presses?
I brought some books from some US presses. I had to look really hard because I have so many international indie presses on my
Yeah, I think
shelf,
I have a lot of
but
internationals.
international.
I need more
But
coffee.
I've got a nice little stack here of some indie presses. Should I just quickly rattle them off?
Yeah.
All right. I have a this is Archipelago Books. I have a lot of books from them. And
I
I
do
buy
like them.
directly from them. They normally have a nice 40% off sale every year. Like last year I bought like 8 books. So they're a great publisher. So I like to buy directly from them so they, get my money direct. I do that whenever I can, but very interesting books over there. We just read and discussed one from Feminist Press, Woman Without Men.
Mm-hmm.
Check that episode out.
Mm-hmm.
Great book, great discussion. um, The Case of Sim by Vera Moda. I can't pronounce that. This is published.
The amount of
This
times in
is
our lives we just go, I can't pronounce that.
I'm not gonna F it up. This is published by Sandorf Passage, and it
Mm-hmm.
says in here, right on this page, this project is supported in part by an award from the National Endowment of the Arts.
Mm-hmm.
India Eyes on Indie talked about Open Letter Press. I have a book from them called Among the Hedges. I haven't read this yet, but
I don't think I've read anything from Open Letter. I'm trying to think if I
yeah,
have, and I don't think I have.
yeah. Transit Books is also on the list. I talked
Mm-hmm.
about this book, Gifted, that came out last year.
Mm-hmm.
Transit Books, check them out. Two other books that we have read and discussed on TBR Lowdown. One from Deep Vellum, which is Sphinx,
Yep. I
and
do like
one
Deep Ellum.
from Grey Wolf, The Discomfort of Evening. These were TBR
Mm-hmm.
Lowdown picks that we read and discussed on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And Elfriede Jelinek, The Children of the Dead, which was published by Yale University Press. I think I got this last year, I think. And then my two last ones from universities, Hyper Objects, Philosophy and Ecology After the End of the World. This is from University of Minnesota Press.
I still really want to read that.
Yeah. And then
Especially after Fever Dream.
that's why I got these last 2 books, this one and
Mm-hmm.
this one, Slow Violence and the Environmentalism of the Poor. And this is from Harvard University Press.
Yeah.
So very, very, very important.
I will say I'm really enjoying the Dorothy Project,
Mm-hmm.
which is in conjunction a little bit with like NYRB, I think. I think it's like
Yeah,
sort of
something like
housed
that.
under
Mm-hmm.
NYRB, but it is
Yeah.
its own little project. And I do want to shout out, I don't know if McNally really counts as like an indie press, but
Mm-hmm.
I do think that McNally Editions is doing something kind of similar to what Persephone does in the UK,
Yeah.
bringing back into print these sort of either like lesser known works from famous authors or just sort of
Mm-hmm.
forgotten books from the past. And there's a really interesting and rich catalog that's being created with that. But then also just the McNally stores. And I know Eyes on Indie really does focus, try to take the focus away from New York City. And I really appreciate that because I do think that publishing is so New York City heavy in this
Yeah.
country. But I do also think that because it's so New York City heavy, that you're still always going to kind of, there's a gravitational force. You're going to move your way back to the city
Right.
at some point. So here I am doing that. And I think the McNally bookstores are phenomenal in that if you are in New York City, if you are visiting, if you live within a train's ride, I would go to a McNally Jackson store because I just think that they are doing book selling on
Yeah.
like a Barnes and Noble like scale that a lot of people don't do anymore. And like,
Mm,
and you can't because you just don't have, I feel like you have Barnes and Noble, you have your small indie bookstores, which are great.
yeah.
You have used bookstores, which we love.
Yes.
And then there's really nothing else that sits sort of like in that Barnes and Noble. Okay, Books a Million, whatever. But like, you have like very
Right.
few things at that section on that larger commercial scale. And I think McNally is doing a really wonderful job of curating a collection of books that are interesting, that are different.
Yeah.
And yes, you can go in there and you can go to their fantasy section and you can pick up, whatever, Sarah J. Maas. But you can also just look around the store and find things that you've never heard of. And it is becoming one of those new traditions for me where when I'm in the city, we stop at a McNally's and we
Yeah.
look at books. And I mean, this time I only came home with one because I was trying to be good. But, I usually come home with something, or I take a bunch of pictures of books to remind myself to get them later or to try to find them at the library or whatever. I don't have the budget for them, right? Um, because there's just titles I've never seen before or
Exactly.
things I've never seen before. And they're so interesting and they're from everywhere. The fiction is organized by like geography. So it's simultaneously a really interesting way to organize the store and also a really frustrating way to organize the store because you're
Hmm.
trying to find something and you're like, oh, Linda Smith wrote this book. Let me try to find it. And you're like, shit, where's Linda Smith from? Is she Canadian? Is
Right.
she American? Is she British? Does she just happen to have a English sounding name, but she's really from sub-Saharan Africa? Like you have no idea, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but what that forces you to do is you're hunting an area instead of just going straight to like S and taking the book off the shelf and being
Hmm.
like, great, I found it. It forces you to peruse. It forces you to go, oh, let me pick up this book. I don't know
Yeah.
what this book is. What is this book? What is Fences by Alex? And you start flipping through it, right?
Exactly.
And now you're doing what we used to do in bookstores. Now you're browsing. Now you're not just taking the thing that you heard on social media and going from there.
Right. And again, like Alyssa said, like it's nothing wrong with that, but like the broader world of publishing that involves indie publishers needs us
Mm-hmm.
to give them some love. If we just keep giving love to all the big publishers, what do you think is going to happen to the little indie ones? Like we have got to make an effort to support them. That is just the bottom line. We just have to. And we can't say it doesn't matter because it does, because they, as Alyssa pointed out earlier, they are the ones that are giving smaller voices a chance. They're the ones that are tackling topics that big publishing is not going to tackle. So we have got to make a concerted effort to support them on a regular basis.
Yep. And I mean, like Pen America's on here, and however you feel
My
about Pen
goodness.
America, like they do a lot
Yes.
for a lot of marginalized voices, a lot of voices from around the
Yeah.
world. Like they do
Yes.
a lot. And and you I don't think anybody listening to this doesn't understand the value of culture and humanity, and the humanities and the arts and all of that. But if you're stumbling upon this podcast randomly because of an algorithm, um, and you're like, art, stupid, like, it's not. It really isn't. And I mean, there was a time where, intellectualism was not a dirty word.
Oh my gosh. Right. Right.
And, me reading all these books doesn't make me better than anybody else in terms of some sort of hierarchy, but it does make me better informed,
Yes.
which may make me a more empathetic person.
A better human.
And you know what we need? A little bit of empathy in this world.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm. So yeah,
It's really
that's what's
sad.
happening.
It's really, really sad. And I hope that I hope these people are able to stay afloat. I really do. And I'm not just talking about, I'm talking about all of the arts that have been affected by the snatching away of these grants. You know, I
So
grew up dancing, so the dance companies mean a lot to me too.
yeah,
Dance is a
I mean,
huge
there's a
part of
lot
my
of dance
life.
on here. There's a lot of dance on here, and it's really, really. I think that dance, not to get totally sidetracked, but I think dance probably gets the most like. I think sometimes like it's very much my own opinion. I think that painting, books, theater. I think people have an easier time with that. I think that dance. I don't think that it has the same respect in the hierarchy of the arts.
It does not.
Um, because it's just I don't think that people understand what dance does. I don't think they understand the work um, that goes into it, the athleticism, the we both you and I are on the same page with dance, but
Yeah.
I do think that of all of the arts, I think it kind of gets, in my own opinion, is that it kind of gets, I don't know,
Yeah.
not as much
It's
respect as it should.
it's hard. I studied ballet and modern for 17 years of my life.
Mm-hmm.
It is heartbreaking when dance theaters and dance companies are attacked. It just
Mm-hmm.
it is very heartbreaking.
I danced ballet for a long time. And not that I was good at it, but I loved it. And irrelevant whether or not I was good at it, I loved it. And dance gives you something. It gives you like a confidence. It
Oh my
gives you,
gosh. It made me so strong in so many ways, so confident.
yeah,
It
it
it,
is
it,
a
it
very
showed me
important
how
part.
to like own my body. It taught me to respect my body. Dance taught me so much about myself.
Hmm. I felt the same way about swimming though too. I feel like
Yeah.
even dance is a ballerina is probably one of the most athletic people you will ever meet in your entire life. Um, and I will die on that hill.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Not sorry. Uh, but like, so I do think of it as not maybe like a sport, but it's in that same arena of like physicality. So
Yes.
like even swimming, like I felt like any of those individual, even team, like individual things that are part of a team or a group are
Yes.
really interesting things to do. Because you, like you said, you learn so much about yourself, but you also learn a group dynamic. You learn how to function within a group dynamic. You
Yeah.
learn how to be aware of in dance you're like aware of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Go support a dance troupe. Go
Please.
do something, please.
Please.
um we love dance here. That is not
Yes.
the point of this. We've had a lot of sidetracks in this.
Well, I mean, it is a part of it. They're affected as well. So,
Yeah, they are affected.
I,
I know it is true.
man,
We were
just it's so
Yeah,
so depressing. But I'm like, we're trying to keep our head up. We're trying to stay positive, and that's why we wanted to do this episode to lend our voice to this dire issue and to continue to bring awareness.
and maybe encourage you to pick up a book from an indie press or two.
Please
Naomi
do.
rattled off a bunch. Honestly, even if you don't pick a US based one, just go somewhere. Start
Absolutely.
somewhere. Go grab a Charco book. Like I don't
Hey.
just like pick something, because I think once you start down the road, if you
Oh
haven't already
yes.
done this, you will start gravitating a little bit more. You will start thinking like, oh, I've never seen that
Exactly.
before. Let me pick that up and read the back of that book and see what it
Exactly.
is. But there was one thing I wanted to say, and because I have to make everything about Virginia Woolf because I'm obsessed. So,
And it wouldn't be Alyssa if she didn't.
so what I think is really interesting to remember. So basically, Virginia Woolf, she published a few books through like sort of traditional publishing, and then she and Leonard set up the Hogarth Press in their home, and it's
Oh,
essentially a self-publishing outfit. Like, yes, they're publishing other people's works, but it allowed Virginia the ability to publish whatever she wanted without, you know, whatever
right.
constraints of um, of traditional publishing at the time.
Right.
When she starts to distribute out to the US and stuff, there's obviously other things that come into play. But in Virginia Woolf is basically self-publishing a large chunk of her books.
Wow.
And that Hogarth Press is turned into an actual publishing house.
Which is
So like
one of my favorites.
these little um endeavors can have like great lasting impact is what I'm trying to get out. Not to really make this about Virginia Woolf, but to say that just because something is small, just because something is niche, just because something seems like in this capitalist hellscape to be insignificant, doesn't mean it won't have lasting impact going
That's
forward.
right.
Sometimes
That's
it's
right.
those little voices that just burrow their way in and get louder and louder and louder.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Sorry, I have to make everything about Virginia Woolf.
I love it.
Don't worry, I'll make it about Jane Austen soon too.
I love it. Yeah, please go out and support a indie press.
Yeah. If you want a good sort of darkly comedic book, go get from Dorothy Press. Those who, oh God, what is the book called? Those who are living and those who are dead. Oh my God, what is it called? Barbara? I always get it wrong. Coleman. Who was changed and who was dead? There we go. Go pick that up. It's just little thing. It's very good, and I think you'll enjoy it. And I really easy rec to give you to go try a small indie press. So, and Naomi gave you about 6 or 7 of them.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be in the show notes, folks. So.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it recommendation time?
It is.
Excellent.
It is indeed. Who's going first? Speaking of indie presses, I've got one from Grey Wolf, and this is If an Egyptian Cannot Speak English by Noor Naga. I feel like that's correct. And I don't know if this is a debut novel or not.
I feel like it was, but I could be very wrong about that.
But it is a Center for Fiction First Novel Prize 2022 winner. Anyway, this was a really interesting book and how it was like structured. So we're with 2 unnamed characters, a woman who has come to, I think, New York, trying to find some roots, and an unnamed narrator who's a man, and they meet each other and they enter into a relationship. She's kind of like really driven and on her way to like building some semblance of a career, and he is, for better lack of words, lost. And there's a lot of insecurity in that loss. And so when they get together and he is looking at how determined she is and how goal-oriented she is, and how she's finding like little wins and successes, he is very threatened by this. And what starts off as, I wouldn't say an overly loving relationship, but a fairly decent relationship, turns into a very abusive relationship. It turns into a relationship in which he begins to verbally tear her down any chance that he gets, and things also get physical, very physical. And so it is a back and forth of looking at their individual past and also flashbacks as to what was going on in their relationship. Now, the way the book is structured, so like it's in 3 parts. In the first part, like there are these individual sections that start off with a question. And so like, for instance, the question, if a girl freely admits she isn't a virgin, can you believe her about the price of milk? And then she begins to recount something related to
Mm-hmm.
that. And that's how the entire first section of the book is. And then when we get to part two, it's more of a um story about their relationship. And then when we get to part three, it completely shifts. And we're like in a classroom, and the instructor and the students are interrogating and talking about this book. So I thought that was really, really interesting. This novel really feels a little experimental in some ways, that it's structured, because I've not ever really seen this structural layout before. But the writing is excellent, storytelling is brilliant, and I mean, I really, really felt for this unnamed woman in this story. And I highly recommend checking this book out. It was really interesting on like multiple levels. So that is If an Egyptian Cannot Speak English by Noor Naga, published by Grey Wolf.
Yeah, I've had that on my to read for a really long time. I had it on my Scribd, turned Everand, turned a piece of poop. So I need to source another copy of that
Yeah,
and read that. I've heard really good things
it's so
about it
interesting though.
in
Yeah,
general. So,
yeah, and
um,
I do think that if you're gonna, like, if you listen to the audiobook, you wouldn't know how it's structured. And I
yeah.
think the structure is part of like the brilliance of this book. So if you're able to read it physically.
I mean, that's kind of why I really like to read and listen along at the same time when I
Yes.
can. Also, it allows me a lot of flexibility in terms of like
Mm-hmm.
being able to, I
Yeah.
can listen in the car, I can go here, I can do that. But
Yeah.
also sometimes it's just really nice to really hone in and have that fully immersive experience.
Absolutely.
Uh, but not a UK, but to keep on brand with Persephone. I know we talked about this after our last recording, but we did not talk about
Mm-hmm.
this on the podcast. So this, not that you can tell, because all Persephone books pretty much look the same unless they have the illustrated covers. This is Crooked Cross by Sally Carson. This, I think, is their most recent, or if not, like one of their most recent releases. It is selling like hotcakes and is in its
Really?
second run. And I think it's out of print and will be back in print in June for its second print run, which is really fantastic for a small, publisher.
Absolutely.
So, I don't think there's an ebook for people who like ebooks. There's definitely an audiobook that you can also grab as well. But anyway, so this was originally published in like the 1930s. I can't remember exactly when. I'll try to get you 1934, and it's the first in what is actually a trilogy of books that Sally Carson wrote, and they are about the rise of Nazi Germany, but they're following this angle of at least this first book, you are following one little family in Bavaria, and you start in Christmas of 32 and you make it to about midsummer of 33. So it's not a long period of time. And you see how quickly the town, the men, the people get indoctrinated into this, you know, fascist regime, right?
Mm.
And you're following this small family. There's a mom, a father, two sons, and a daughter. And the daughter is engaged to a young doctor who happens to have a Jewish last name. He may have been Jewish like earlier on, but I think he's currently like Catholic or something. And his father was a professor, and he's like aged. They live together. It's just the two of them. And when we start the book, these two young people are getting engaged, and it's very exciting. And as the introduction says, beware any book that starts with a happy Christmas, because everything's going to unravel from there. And it's really quite tragic, but it's really interesting to watch how, after World War One, Germany was severely depressed in a lot of ways. Economically, I think emotionally, there wasn't like a lot of opportunity for people. It was a very difficult time for the people. So there was a lot of almost like hope and spirit and like rah-rahness that comes in with Hitler. And a lot of people get wrapped up in the promise of it all and the promises that he makes. I mean, there's a lot of mirroring. I think the reason this is selling like hotcakes is because it's very, it's ringing very true to a lot of the things that are happening across the globe, particularly in the US, because fascism is on the rise again in a lot of places. And a lot of places are beating it back, but not everybody.
Right.
So it's striking a chord, I think, with readers, and that's why it's selling so well, because it really is in capturing that ease of indoctrination when you have a dejected population. You just need to dangle some hope, and the right kind of hope, and play to their what's making them dejected. And it is tragic and it's moving. And there's lots of reflections throughout about what's happening and the horror of it all and the violence of what's and this is early, like it's 33, so there's these, this is early days in the violence. But what's also really interesting about this is, so the author dies by like 39.
Oh,
so
wow.
She doesn't even see like the full totality of the war, but she's already envisioning and talking about all the horrors that we with retrospect know. But did everybody know about it at the time? Not everybody was as fully aware of what was happening. So it's just a very interesting snapshot of history, warning for our times. It's a phenomenal book, and it's just really well written. Like, it's not even just like the messaging is, oh, here. It's compelling. It's really good. I mean, I've got tons of flags in it because I don't write in my Persephone books, so I do flag them. But I absolutely adored this. It is so good, and I really do hope they put the other two out, because there was another book that came out around the time of this that I think overshadowed it. So this kind of like a Snore Bab, you know, like where it kind of gets lost in a, not in a drawer because it was published and stuff, but it kind of gets lost in the sands of time, and because it got overshadowed by something else that got turned into a movie and all this other stuff. So it feels really fortuitous that they found this, that they were able to get the rights to it, that they were able to publish it at like the exact right time. There's a lot of lessons to be learned from this, and I love this. So this is Crooked Cross by Sally Carson. Please pick this up somehow. You might not be able to get a physical copy from your libraries here in the States. I don't know how they do with getting foreign press books to your libraries, but they do have the audiobooks. You may be able to at least get your library to get that if you can't buy it on your own. Also, just support your libraries. So please support your libraries now more than ever.
Please do. This sounds so good. I mean, every time you talk about it with me, it's just like, yeah, I'd like to read that.
I have talked Jesus' ear off about it so many times.
He's like, okay, have you convinced him to read it yet?
He's like, shut up, woman. I get it.
We get it. You like it.
Well, what he did say is that what he actually said was he pointed to his section on his bookshelves where all of his like World War II history is. I have that book, and he pointed to it. And I was like, okay, this is different. Like, this is just, I think what's so remarkable is that Carson is capturing in real time what so many people either overlooked or couldn't see, but what with retrospect we all know about the Nazi Party and the regime and everything. And I just think it's such an astute look at what was happening in real time.
Wow.
So yeah, please read it.
Yet another book I want to read in the future. Yeah. All right. Well, that went longer than I thought. Great conversation. Please support your local indies. Visit our website, tbrlowdown.com/book club, if you want to see and listen to some of the wonderful indie published books that we've discussed on this podcast in the past. Follow us everywhere at TBR Lowdown. And you know what? This episode in particular, please share with 5 friends. That's right. And I dare you.
Please go and subscribe to Eyes on India if you don't subscribe to her already.
Please.
Because She's doing great stuff, and she needs more eyes on Indy. So
We need more eyes on Indy, please. She has a fantastic channel. I've watched her for some time, and and she's got a great personality too.
she does.
Just please subscribe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's going to do it for us. We are out of here. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.